Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo, and tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Pooba, Senator, Pagoda, and Grinder. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some scotch, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 5th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke Cigar Aficionado's 2020 Cigar of the Year tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We'll also chat about a variety of other things for the next hour, so sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Kirkland, yes, you heard right, Costco's Kirkland brand 12-year aged Scotch with EP Carrillo's Pledge in Prequel. Okay, so we have the supposed 2020 Cigar of the Year, according to Cigar Aficionado, the EP Carrillo Pledge Prequel, which is a Robusto and box press, a 5x50, dark wrapper. What are you guys getting on the scent here?
It's hard to tell because
there's so many wrappers on it.
The wrapper is.
Can we take wrappers off at this point?
I'm getting a little barnyard.
There is a foot wrapper a ribbon rather.
The foot ribbon is secured by Scotch tape.
It is.
I fight it every time.
Ooh. Actually,
yeah. The presentation of this is questionable at best. The amount of bands on here.
Actually, this is nice.
It has a really nice aroma to it.
It does. It really.
It does, but this footband.
I'm still fighting the footband,
impossible
by the
to
way.
get off.
You just slide
It's
it.
just
No, I
It's
don't.
just like a.
I got it. So if you grab it
There's
with
a piece of tape on it.
no, but if you grab it with your
Scotch tape.
fingernail and just pull it forward, it can slide off. But it's completely and totally unnecessary.
This is the kind of content we're
This
becoming
is
known
this
for.
is like a condom. You just slide it off. Come on.
This is like insanity.
Can we edit that, please? I can't have my mother hear that.
I'm leaving it in just because of that.
Please don't. Please don't. She already heard the orgasmic expression. She's like, what is grinder?
Like, so is that what happened?
But I don't think a band like this. I don't think you need a foot band. Then the
Mid band.
the Perez Carrillo band, and then the additional band
It also says
is
Perez Carrillo.
that also says
Carrillo.
Perez
Carrillo.
Is it Carrillo?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't think you need all these
Like
bands.
this fabric to me is like, this is what I would think you get at like Michael's. Like you go to Michael's and you
It's
get
horrible.
like a
band.
roll of yellow gold fabric.
For those of you who don't know what Michael's is, it's a teacher's and artist supply store.
Yeah. Okay, so I finally have the band off. You guys ready to cut it?
Yeah, I'm taking.
Let's cut it. So this is, again, a 5x50 Robusto box press. The 2020 Cigar of the Year, according to Cigar Aficionado. Very reasonably priced. So we decided to do this before the end of the year to not only do something that was reasonably priced and popular, but also very affordable. This cigar comes in. You can find it generally anywhere between 11 and 13, 14 bucks, depending on the taxes in your local market.
So the cold draw, I'm getting very. It's like musty.
That's why I said barnyard. I feel like you get.
I feel like this may be stupid to say, but I feel like I'm getting a little raisin on the draw.
No, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's not a note I've ever called out before, but I'm definitely getting a little
I
raisin.
mean, to your
So-
point, there's a little bit of sweetness.
The draw is my draw is perfect.
It is a perfect draw.
Same, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
This is great.
All right, so let's light it up, boys.
Very, very good construction.
The EP Carrillo Pledge Prequel. And after we light it, I'll go through the makeup of the cigar. So these have been in my humidor now probably for about 8 months. I got these at the early part of the year. I know that we started smoking these. We had these when they were hyped up at the end of last year or beginning of this year.
So I've had the Toro. Well,
They call it the Sojourn.
Yeah, the Sojourn.
I don't know. First draw.
unpleasant.
Yeah, the actual the retro
very
hail,
harsh.
the retro hail is better.
The first draw on this for me was very harsh.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
A little rough. It's a full bodied little Robusto.
I agree. Mine wasn't that harsh. I just, you get some pepper on the finish, but this
Pepper
isn't
on
off to a terrible
draw
start.
too. Yeah.
It was an easy draw. I think it got to my throat pretty quick.
So this is a Habano Connecticut wrapper, an Ecuadorian binder, and Nicaraguan filler. And it's made in the Dominican Republic. And they say it's a medium full cigar.
It's full.
I would say it, for me, it
Well, at least it's starting full.
leans more full. We'll see how it ends up.
I'm just getting oak and pepper.
I'm getting a little cardamom.
Black or green?
No petrichor.
Not at this stage.
You're into colors today.
I'll be honest. I Googled that word
Did
after
you guys?
last episode. I Googled that word.
Can so what is petrichor? It's a thing. I'm not fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Just no one knows what the fuck you're talking about.
It's the early
You know
smell
what
right
it
after
is.
the
You
rain.
just didn't have a name for it.
That's true.
Am I wrong?
But what is it? There has to be some more kind of common description of that taste in the
Guess pull that up.
lexicon,
Let's pull up petrichor.
Lexicon or vocabulary?
vocabulary, whatever you want to call it.
Petrichor, a pleasant smell that frequently accompanies the first rain after a long period of warm, dry weather.
Oh, so like a damp kind of
Smells like
earthy.
rain.
Yeah, earthy. It's summer.
So why Petro?
It's Petra. It's actually Petri.
It's Greek.
It's spelled Petri.
Relating to
CHR.
rocks.
Nothing to do with petroleum.
No.
Well, petroleum is from rocks. Ichor is actually a thing. I don't know what ichor is.
I think the cigar tastes much better.
Well, the light was a little bit rough, but it's
better now.
It's better now.
Yeah. You know what I find about these? I mean, it's interesting. I guess, we spoke about Padron a couple episodes ago, the Exclusivo and Box Press, but I find that these, to me, they're not a very pretty cigar. Like if you were to take these bands off, it's not a very impressive looking cigar.
It's bumpy.
Yeah, it's bumpy.
rough.
The wrapper's not. The cap to me is very exposed and clear. I don't know. It's
I
just,
like that though. I like that.
I think it's a. Is it single cap like Padrones are? I can't tell.
No, it's not.
No, I don't think it
Padrones
is.
are single
I
cap.
think it's.
I like this soft box press
I
too.
can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say this. I like the shape of this cigar because I think we're all a little bit of a sucker for a box press since we love Padron so much. But Gizmo, to your point, I mean, it's a toothy wrapper. It's got a rustic look to it. It doesn't look all that refined, and I feel like they tried to dress it up by putting that foot band on and two more bands on top of that. When I first smoked this cigar, I actually thought it started off very smooth. I was shocked how smooth. The finish we'll talk about as we go through this. That was a very different experience. But for some reason, as this has sat in Gizmo's humidor, this has started out a lot more aggressive than I remember when I first had this cigar.
You know what this by look and by like initial few draws, this is really reminding me of the Le Bijou. Have you ever had that?
Is that
I have.
Is that my father?
That's by my father,
that
right?
fucking packs a punch. This is like the first few draws of this. It really hit me, and like even like the footband, the Michaels ribbon, and like the big bands on this, like triple band, like
The Michaels ribbon, like from Michael's art store.
Yeah.
Right.
So to your point, I see the visual similarities with Le Bijou, but that cigar, who else has had that Le Bijou?
I have not.
I have not.
All right, so I'll never forget this cigar because if anyone asks me what the strongest cigar I've ever had in my life is, it's that My Father Le Bijou. I'll never forget. I was a few cigars deep into an evening, and I was at a cigar lounge, and I saw that cigar was rated within the top 5 some year in Cigar Aficionado, and it was on their list. So I said, sure, let me try it. I could not believe how strong that cigar. It was not smokable. It was not smoke. I mean, I was just pounding Scotch to try to take away some of the bite of the cigar. It was just a really good cigar experience.
That's an interesting concept. We're trying cigars because of CA, right? Cigar Aficionado and their annual ratings, and it's driving consumer demand in some way.
Or at least retailer supply as well.
Well, absolutely, right? And what is driving? But that as a consumer, I have whatever, I'll try anything. But what is driving the CA's evaluation of certain cigars versus not, and accordingly their ratings, right?
It's a great question. And I know that they keep their process somewhat secret, I guess, but from the way that they describe it, from what I've seen on Instagram and stuff from David Savona and the other guys there, is that they get shipped a package of cigars. They're all completely unbanded. They're numbered, and they just smoke them and review them.
Yeah, but give me a break. They know what they're smoking.
And there's got to be some advertising.
We know
right?
we know what we're smoking when we.
Yeah.
And when you're in the biz, and you're smoking. You're smoking cigars all day, every day, and you're not even smoking the full stick, right? You're just like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. They know what they're smoking, and they have a refined palate. There's no. I'm sure there's some, sanctity in the process that they are obliged to, but the reality is, they know what they're smoking.
And I'm looking at the top 25 from this year, and I know that we're picky about what we like to smoke and our preferences, but some of these are questionable at best to me in the top 25.
Like what?
All right, you ready? So number 2 was the Fuente Opus X Double Robusto, respectable. Number 3, Padron 1964 Anniversary Series in Hermosa, which is a shorter, fatter version of the Exclusiva we smoked a couple weeks ago. Number 5 is the Punch Short to Punch from Cuba.
That's a pretty decent cigar.
That's a nice cigar.
That is a good cigar.
The Oliva Serie V Melanio Churchill, number 8.
So there's a manufacturer that always shows up in the top 5. Well, some listener's going to correct the fuck out of me for some reason, but they're always in that.
Oliva.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They do a lot of advertising.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's what some of these, like.
Same with Fuente.
And I think EP Carrillo too, because the last 3 cigars that they've released in regular production have all top 5'd in the past few years. I think number 1 in 2018, 2 years ago, was an EP Carrillo as well.
Which one was that?
The one with the orangey band.
The Encore. Yeah.
The Encore.
This is.
Even the top 5.
This is not the Encore.
What
This is sorry.
This is the pledge.
Oh yeah, the Encore.
Had anyone tried the Encore?
I
when
did.
That?
I did.
So I'll just say I'm a sucker for this. I criticize Cigar Aficionado's ratings every year when they come out with this, but I can't remember a year I didn't try their Cigar of the Year.
Yeah.
And so I tried that EP Carrillo Encore Majestic. I think it was Cigar of the Year in 2018. If not, it was 19. And it's not my typical flavor profile, so it would not be a hard recommend for me, but it was unique and interesting in that I remember a lot of tea and floral notes. It was very smooth. It was just a different style that I'm used to. So I don't have anything overly negative to say about that cigar, because for someone that likes that flavor profile, I'm sure that's a great cigar for them. But for me, it just didn't really didn't excite me that much.
For that cigar, I did have that cigar. And I remember sitting in a cigar lounge in I think I was in small town New Jersey, and having that cigar because it just came out and they had a stock of them, and it was before the rush, right? Like it just came out, the ratings just came out, and they just happened to have them in stock, and I had it, and I was like, I won't be able to find this in a week, right? And I loved it. It was great. I would rate that, not rate, but I would, rank order that one higher than this one so far, from what I recall. And this was a while ago.
I kind of agree with you because I really, really enjoyed the cigar for quite some time. I think I was smoking a lot of those, even into last year. Smoked quite a few of those and really enjoyed it.
You're talking the Encore Pagoda?
Yeah, the Encore. Yeah. But I wasn't having the majestic size. I was having one of the larger sizes. I just really enjoyed it. It was what I thought was, somewhere between medium and bold. And just enjoyed the flavors.
So
sure.
I I like most of the stuff that Ernesto Perez blends. Like when he, even to this day, I have like 4 or 5 boxes of the Series R, the original Liguria Cubana. Like that's the original fat stick, like that big, almost, it may be 60 ring gauge. I'm not sure, but it's a big, very thick ring gauge cigar, and like that's what brought him to the market. Like he was a blender at LGC, the North American, not the not Cuban cigar, and he made that cigar, and I love that cigar. I have so many great memories of smoking that cigar, and I still do to this day. Smoke the Series R, and that's his original blend. And then he obviously went and did other stuff, right? He made his own line, and I even shared one of my favorite cigars. They made a cigar for the European market called the Cabinet, and I think I shared it with Senator.
That's right.
It's a great cigar. It's light. It's got a lot of flavor. It doesn't hit you in the face. It's reminiscent of the Series R, but a little different. But it just never took in the American market, probably because it was at the time, it was just everything was fat ring gauge, right? And I still have like 50 or 60 of those cigars in my humidor, various sizes. But
to Grinder's point, I vividly remember this. We were in his backyard sitting around a fire, and he gave me this cigar. I had never even heard of it before. It was actually very, very good. So good that I looked it up on my phone thinking, where can I buy this? And it's not made anymore, yeah. So it's nice Grinder shared it. But I don't have a ton of experience with EP Carrillo. I mean, I'm smoking this. I've had the Encore Majestic, and apparently I've had that one from Grinder. But that cigar was very good. The Encore Majestic, while not my traditional flavor profile, I thought it had a really refined character about it. So a respectable cigar. And this, obviously, the jury's still out. We're early into this one.
But this is like the third in this series, right? So he released one year, then he had the Encore, which is the second, like the Encore, the second one.
And the first one was La Historia.
Yeah. La Historia, okay. And it was like you can even go, like I remember listening to whoever does the reviews at CA on some YouTube video and him talking about the 3-act play of not the cigar, but the actual the actual release of these. And I was thinking to myself, this is a good cigar. I had this previously, but the previous two were actually, in my opinion, much better so far.
So I have a question for everyone. Has this started to smooth out for all of you? Because for me now, this is actually very smooth.
It's smooth, but I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily enjoying it thus far.
I'm enjoying the combustion. It's fucking phenomenal.
The combustion's good.
A lot of smoke.
Yeah. It's not. I'm not saying it's. Listen, this is not a bad cigar. It's not. It's just maybe not for me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it may not be for somebody else. I think if. It's just kind of not the kind of style of smoke that I enjoy particularly. But I'm trying to remain objective and take it for what it is.
So what does that mean exactly when you say it's not your? So what specifically are you getting in this?
Like I'm getting. I feel like it's like it's really got an edge to it that is, for my palate, is not enjoyable.
The edge is a little disturbing.
It's not the edge; it's the pledge.
Pledge edge, right? It's the pledge edge. Well, it has like, but it's like peppery and it's peppery and kind of just the over. I can't pinpoint what it is about it. It just doesn't taste that good, and I know that's.
I agree with him.
That's
I agree with him.
I know that's like really opaque way of saying it, but it's not even like it's spicy, but like not in a good way.
It kind of makes. I'll be honest. It's not a cigar that I'm like, oh, it's a Sunday afternoon. It's 65 degrees. There's no wind, and I'm going to really enjoy this on my deck. No, I'm a little squirmy. I'm a little like, I'm trying to flex too many muscles to reach out and grab what I like about it.
Right. It's I'm trying to dig deep into like what this thing, and I don't want to influence the group here, I'm just saying I can't find flavor notes in this thing that stand out to me. I think it's actually, to be perfectly frank, I think it's muddled. Like, I think there's a lot of happening, but nothing particularly jumps out to me. I'm not like, oh, this is sweet, this is deep, this is earthy. It's kind of just spicy and slightly. So listeners may jump on me for this, but not acrid, but like something.
Yeah, I think it's not defined. Like I've been trying to figure out like what is that?
It's a lot of spice, and it hits in the back of your throat.
For sure.
Right? You
There's
feel
some
that?
pepperish.
Yeah, but for me, that's not pleasurable.
Right.
So I'm curious, Gizmo, MC Gizmo, is there, talking about what is enjoy about this, I'm sure CA has some review
what do
that
they
says
say
what,
about it?
what they like about it.
Before Gizmo reads anything of what they say, let's talk for a second about what they rated this cigar. This is the thing I had the hardest time with.
Yeah, I agree. This
will
is crazy.
blow
What did they
your
rate it?
mind. Out of 100 points, they gave this cigar
95.
a 98.
98.
98.
Give me a
Wow.
break.
What are they smoking?
But
I
so
mean-
that's when I love we all love Cigar Aficionado. The ratings, to me, when I see that score, I'm just like, really? So what are you guys smoking aside from these sticks?
Let me say something in their defense, though. When we smoked this cigar for the first time in, say, January or February, what I remember very specifically was that the first third was surprisingly different than anything I've ever had before. There was almost, and I think, Senator, I think you and I smoked it together. There was almost a kind of like wine characteristic that coated your mouth that is missing for me right now,
but
8 months later.
Drinking Clorox is different. That doesn't mean it's good.
No,
this
but
is like,
he's not saying different in a bad way. He's saying different in a good way. I mean,
I'm
honestly,
saying it was different. I'm complimenting the cigar that I had when it originally came out, when I originally purchased it. I was like, okay, I get why they made this cigar of the year. Like, I understood for a moment. And then into the second third, into the last third, I started to question it. Now, all this time later, coming to the end of the year, these guys have sat for a while in my humidor. It's certainly smoking better than it did when I originally purchased it. No doubt about that. The construction, the burn is definitely more of a highlight now than it was then.
Let me interject. This is where I get fucking annoyed. The wrapper and whatever they used to bind this just tore a piece of the wrapper off. That annoys the fuck out of me. Like, give me a break.
I'm not there yet.
You know, we've also been smoking a lot of Cuban cigars like throughout the summer. And most of the Cuban cigars are like medium, right? Not full, not a lot of spice. And this thing is like totally on the opposite spectrum, giving you a lot of spice, hitting you in the back of the throat, back of the tongue. And we're not used to those flavors. We haven't had this in a long time.
Yeah.
And we have not had anything this spicy in a very long time.
And you're totally right.
So it's like a full flavored, a lot of spice, and it's mostly spice. There's no sweetness, there's no citrus, there's no floral notes. It's just a heavy spice that you get.
To your point about the back of your throat, that's, I think, the part of this I'm enjoying the least is how it feels sitting in the back of my throat after I draw it.
I agree. The delivery is not particularly smooth, which I think is what makes it not that enjoyable for a lot of us. And I think Puba had a really nice way of explaining the flavors are muddled in that there's not, I've still, not one of us has picked out a really dominant flavor outside of pepper and spice. I mean, that's really all you're getting. You're not getting some vanilla or earth or cocoa. There's none of that. It's all just hidden behind this bomb of spice and pepper. And that's kind of disappointing.
There needs to be something to balance out the spice. I don't think it's a balanced smoke. It's just kind of dominant in spice.
I remember smoking this Sojourn, I guess, this is once again, I think, earlier during the year, and I remember, Rooster, I was speaking to you about it, and I said, the first third or half was awesome, and then I just couldn't hack it. Right. Something the flavor profile had changed, and I remember, and then after that, I think I'd got around 10 cigars in a box or something. I think it was a box of 10 or a pack of 10. I'm not sure. But yeah, after I finished those, I just wasn't able to reorder them. But, this is obviously a different size. So I haven't felt that dramatic change yet. So let's see what it brings.
So here's what Cigar Aficionado said. It's a delicious smoke that delivers flavor in bold, zesty parcels of spicy oak, licorice, black cherry, and black pepper. Baking spices sing like a holiday chorus, and when you think you've tasted all the cigar has to offer, a warm, familiar note of baked apple settles across the palate. That performance alone is what sent the cigar straight to the top of the list. However, when you look at this as part of a larger body of the work, you see that the Perez Carrillo trilogy nearly hit the trifecta, as 2 out of the 3 of these were named Cigar of the Year, and the other one was, I guess, number 3 or number 4 a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me about this is that the other cigars that I love about EP Carrillo that I spoke about, it's so different from this, and almost part of me is almost saying like, CA is like, this guy is a fucking legend, which he is. His family's they're great. His daughter's running the business. They make phenomenal cigars, great construction. They're great, right? And they're almost like, this is the thing that's disturbing me, is that I feel like they're just kind of, hey, let me give you the gold star for being an awesome manufacturer. And like this, because it's so different from what I love about EP Carrillo. Those cigars I was describing, even the Maduro, the natural, all in the Series R, and even when he left, they kept that blend, and those other EP Carrillos that came out when he started his own line, they're very different from this. And I'm just like, maybe it's like, okay, you've been in the business forever. We're trying to praise you for being one of the stalwarts, and that maybe that's just part of the business. I'm not in the business.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think that's a fair point. I can only speak for what I'm experiencing right now, and to me, it's linear, generic, and aggressive would be the 3 things that and I don't mean aggressive like super aggressive, but this is the cigar that if that's your thing, the sweetness that Cigar Aficionado speaks of, if I was experiencing it, I would, I'd mention it, but I don't really get that, or caramel, or some of these other notes, or baking spices. I mean, I'm not getting any of that.
I got the cardamom when I first. I think I mentioned that. I did get some of that when I first was into it.
Maybe in the beginning a little. Yeah. But that doesn't take away from the merits of what this is, if that's what you like. I mean, like, I think there's a lot of people who probably love this cigar. Feel free to beat me up.
I think you're right, though.
But maybe there are people who like this.
But, so I want to go back to something Grinder said, because I think there's a pattern with EP Carrillo, in that my impression of that brand, and Grinder knows that brand far better than I do, is that what they do really well are medium cigars. They're not known for full flavor bombs that you would get out of some other brands. I mean, this is probably the strongest, if not one of the strongest cigars they make. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, I think when he was at LGC, and I don't know who was owning LGC at the time, he made that line of cigars, right? The Series R. That cigar was certainly medium, almost mild in some way, and it was very sweet and nutty and beautiful.
But that's what I'm getting at. I just feel like because clearly cigar palates are skewing, at least in the New World, in the U.S., they're skewing fuller in flavor. And I feel like EP Carrillo tried to capture that by producing this cigar. And I just think when you compare this to other cigars that are full flavor, New World cigars, they deliver that flavor in a much smoother, in a much more refined way, in a much more complex way than this cigar does. And to me, I feel like this is a bit out of their element, that they don't really understand how to blend a cigar like this to deliver that amount of flavor in a smooth way where you can pick out these flavor notes. I mean, to hear Gizmo name all these notes that Cigar Aficionado is getting out of this cigar, where I think all of us in this room are saying that's lost by just spice and oak and not much more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I'm not getting much more out of that, but maybe somebody else could. Somebody else clearly did, or it's just a bunch of bullshit, which is possible. I mean, but I don't think so. I mean, I think that I think people want to. I think the folks at CA probably aren't completely, off their rocker and are just making shit up. But these are people in the cigar business who are in the business of generating revenue for the book. We all know what ad revenue means. So, and I'm not saying that's the main driver, but who knows? I'm, how many times can you give a Padron or give some of the legendary Cuban cigars awards each year in a book? You can't do it. So if we were sitting around and we ran the book,
we'd give it a Padron every year.
Well, no. I mean, you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to do that. Your advertisers would go bye-bye. You wouldn't be able to do that. You need to spread the love around, and it's the same thing whether it's industry awards shows. If you just give the same awards to the same companies every year, and no one else gets to taste a piece of the pie, you can't sell any additional tables to the event. And people say, and they got to spread it around. So I get that, you got to spread it around. This cigar, I just don't really understand. I don't understand the appeal, but I do understand how somebody could like it. I mean, it's not like it's offensive, but it's certainly not approachable. It's not an easy cigar to approach. This is not an approachable smoke for even the casual person.
I think this would be a great outdoor cigar, really. Like if you are into stronger cigars, because the construction's great, the draw is great, the combustion is great.
It is.
If you feel like you want to smoke a cigar on the golf course on a slightly windy day, if it holds up, I haven't tried this to be very honest, but if it holds up and the combustion's great, I would rather smoke this outside, to be honest.
So there's one thing I do like about this cigar, the secondhand aroma. I'm going to trademark that. Secondhand aroma TM is really, I like that. I like when I hold it to my nose and I'm not not inhaling, but when I'm not puffing on it and tasting it, it's very pleasant. But
I agree with that.
But when I taste it and I actually smoke it, it's a lot for me.
And I think to Pagoda's point too, I think about being an outdoor cigar, an outdoor cigar with a thick wrapper on it. For $10, this is certainly going to perform very well in, as Puba described about the Exclusivo, that tornado scenario. I think this would perform very well. And what I'm finding too is even when I take a little bit of a draw on it, I'm getting a ton of smoke.
Yeah.
There's certainly no lack of chimney
the
here.
combustion's really
Combustion's
good.
great.
No doubt about it.
The combustion's real good. And actually, it's funny. I just got to the middle, and now this is like the most pleasurable part of the cigar now. It actually is doing something that's changing, and now I'm actually enjoying it way more. Am I wrong?
No, not at all.
No.
I was just going to go there. So the second half, when you get to the middle, you start to get sweetness out of the cigar.
Yeah, now I'm starting to pick something up that's
Which
better.
I think has flipped since the first time we smoked it.
True.
What I'm finding is that, can we talk about what we're pairing with this? Because
before we get to that though, I need to know, as our resident full-bodied cigar smoker, I'm curious what Rooster thinks of this so far as a guy who smokes a Padron 90th for breakfast.
So, I mean, it did start with a lot of spice, and about halfway through, I was getting a lot of spice also. But now it has changed to a little bit of sweetness. And I was just going to mention, maybe CA, you really have to smoke the whole cigar to really find out, what they're talking about. Maybe they don't tell you whether those notes came in the beginning, in the middle, or kind of to the end. So the cigar now has gotten a little smoother and gotten a little sweeter, and the spice has gone down or diminished a little bit.
I agree.
I'm actually enjoying the middle, and I wasn't the first half, so the jury's still out.
So, do you recommend cutting just smoke half of it?
Cut the first half
Cut
off.
the first half off.
I'll just let Gizmo cut my cigar.
I think we all.
Sorry,
I'm
that's never
actually-
going to end.
It's
Then
funny.
you'll get all spice.
Right as I was literally 4 minutes after I gave that kind of 3-point play, linear, aggressive, this is now, it changed a little. I mean, it literally changed just a bit now where I'm actually like, okay, well, if this first half had more notes in it like this, so it's changing. And maybe that's a testament to some of the complexity that's in the cigar that maybe we haven't appreciated fully yet. It's better now than it was 15 minutes ago.
All right, so let's talk about our pairing tonight. We've switched gears a little bit as far as what we've been doing in past podcasts, and we've kind of gone the other end of the spectrum. And we are sipping a 12-year aged Kirkland blend from Rooster's favorite place in the entire world, Costco.
Well, I mean, this sounds like lunacy and it sounds insane. Okay. And maybe for the listener, or maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But Gizmo brought the Scotch to the lounge a couple of times. He was subsequently ridiculed and then said, well, why don't you try it, assholes, before you ridicule me about my Costco Scotch. I got to tell you, it's a blended Scotch. What's the price tag on it?
$34.99 for a 1.75 liter.
Right. So you're saying this has to be absolute shit, you say to yourself. This has to be like garbage, like tastes like Doers or something. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't.
You just offended a lot of listeners.
No, I mean, hey, look, I'll drink Doers with the twist.
We just lost half the audience.
No,
there.
no. I'll drink Doers with a twist. I grew up on that stuff. Certainly poaching it from my dad's liquor cabinet, who was a Doers drinker. He drank J&B, drank Cuddy. Back in the 80s, I would poach that stuff all the time. And into my early 20s, I would drink that. But this is not that. This is not anything like those kind of, I guess, I don't know what you would characterize them, but like Doers or Cuddy or
like a budget
J&B or a budget kind of
budget blend, I guess.
a budget blended Scotch.
Yeah.
This Scotch is really super drinkable, and I don't really understand exactly what's behind it. Maybe you guys do. I've tried to Google it a couple of times, but money for value. It's really, it outpaces the dollar value, the quality of this big time. It's super drinkable.
I mean, it's effectively $17 a bottle, compared to another $7.50 bottle of Scotch. I mean, it's $17 a bottle, and the flavor that it delivers at that price is unmatched, unbeatable. It's incredible to me. I'm blown away by it.
So I'll say this as a Scotch snob, and I'm happy to have that label. I was sitting in my lounge here, and Rooster came by. I think Bam Bam was there, and Rooster says, "Senator, you have to try this Kirkland 12-year Scotch that Gizmo brought to the lounge the other day. I wasn't there when you guys sampled it." And I said immediately to Rooster, I said, "You couldn't pay me to drink a Costco Scotch. I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen. There's no way that Costco can make a Scotch that I'm going to enjoy." And so the next time Rooster came by, he brings this giant, what feels like a 50-pound bottle of Scotch from Costco, and he pours some for me and Bam, and he's like, "Just try it." Both of us, Bam and I, looked at each other completely stunned. One, how smooth this was for a $17 a bottle of Scotch, and two, the flavor that it delivered in a really nice, refined, not at all aggressive way. So I'll just say, for anyone out there who is very particular about their Scotch, my favorite everyday Scotch is Macallan 12. I think most of the guys in this room are in the same boat there. Dollar for dollar, there is no better everyday Scotch that I've tried than this. So
Yeah,
I thank Gizmo for going out on a limb and purchasing this.
Absolutely. It's super approachable, but let's be clear. Like, it is not a single malt Scotch. It is not, this does not have it doesn't have, I would characterize it as really drinkable, really pleasant, and really approachable, and leave it at that. It doesn't deliver this kind of like complexity that you're going to get from a single malt Scotch, but it tastes really good, and it's really smooth, and it's really drinkable.
So the first thing I would say about this Scotch is that, one, with this cigar, it actually pairs very nicely.
It pairs very well.
Because it's very, the Scotch is very smooth. It has this hint of sweetness. It's not offensive. It's very, to Puba's point, it's very drinkable. And it really for me, it balances off, I don't want to use this word because it's not completely apt, the offensiveness of some of the harsh, notes that I get in this cigar. Now, so the Alexander Murray is the brand that actually blends this Scotch, right? The fascinating thing is this guy, I don't even know if he's Scottish or who. Alexander Murray is not the name of the guy. It's some other company. It's founded by some, but the brand is Alexander Murray. I don't know. Do we know who founded Alexander Murray?
don't.
The brand is based, I think it's based in California.
I just know Andy Murray.
So I think it's based in California. And the guy wins. It's like a boutique, blender that he brings in. He brings the Scotch industry is so complex because they have so many of these blended. The blended Scotch industry is like, there's so many distillers in Scotland. We talked about this on a previous episode. He brings in all these different Scotches, and the reality is it kind of does have, maybe I'm the antithesis of what you just said. I do get it's like a better version of a Dewar's, in my opinion. Like I drank Dewar's when I was in college, and
Absolutely.
when I was like, I'm not gonna drink Busch Light or pictures
Gallons of it.
yeah,
Gallons of it.
I loved drinking it. I was like really cool. I'm like, oh, I'm sophisticated. Now I'm just like, you were like an idiot, but I like it. It's reminiscent to that in a way, but it's so much better and it's so drinkable.
So much better than the Dewar's.
I want to say, I'm sorry, just to do this Scotch justice, it's leaps and bounds better than Dewar's.
Yeah,
Let's just be crystal clear.
1,000%.
Because when you're
But
flying, American Airlines for years, I'm an American flyer. They always had Dewar's, and I never enjoyed it. I just didn't. And you can even compare this to people who drink Johnny Walker Black. Like, that's a serviceable blended Scotch. It's nothing great, but like it's drinkable. This is leaps and bounds to me better than Johnny Black, than Chivas, than
absolutely.
Dewar's. I would drink this over any of those blended Scotches any day of the week.
Yeah.
This has a fuller flavor profile. It's more balanced. It's smooth. I mean, all blended Scotches are smooth because they're blended. That's what they're going for. But this just delivers more flavor in a smooth way that I think those others are not capable of doing.
I wouldn't describe this as full flavor by any means.
Johnny Walker Black is
relative to those other Scotches. I'm sorry, Dewar's is practically
absolutely.
Dewar's is shit, but
Dewar's
Johnny
is
Walker
harsh
Black,
water.
But Johnny Walker Black is not. I would not characterize. Well, see, maybe I have an attachment to that brand. It got me.
Me too.
I have an attachment to Johnny Walker Black. I drank a lot of Johnny Walker Black with my dad. I drank a lot of it on fucking airplanes, and like, I don't know. I've drank a lot of that in my life. And
Would you drink that over this?
Any day with a sploosh of soda.
So all right, Puba, help me
Not a
understand
splash,
this.
a sploosh.
I don't
Your
know.
thermos,
I
which we
think
should
they're-
talk about.
Oh,
Your
no.
thermos,
No,
which we
let's
should
not.
talk
We
about.
we cannot.
Where do you put this on the boat?
Why not fill your thermos
This
with
is
Johnny
good on
Black?
the
Why
boat.
this?
This is good on the boat. But the boat.
A part of me thinks this is better without club soda.
I have an
think with
opinion.
Johnny Black, I think I prefer it with a sploosh of soda for some reason.
Can we
Like,
first?
Have
I
you
think
tried?
couple
have
things.
you
One,
tried this with
let's
soda?
define what a sploosh is,
No.
and then two, I'm curious to hear your commentary on why it's different, because I think I have a pretty strong opinion
it's
about
woody,
why.
it's woodier. Johnny
For sure.
Walker Black is a woodier Scotch than this, and it's definitely has a lot more body than this. Is like, would I pour Johnny Walker Black? I can drink this straight with no ice. This Kirkland Scotch.
I agree.
And it's very, very smooth. Would I just drink Johnny Walker Black, not over ice? Probably not, but like it delivers a different it delivers a little bit more of a woody, full-bodied taste that tastes just like Johnny Walker. I mean, I don't know.
But is that the nostalgia talking? Is that the history talking?
It could totally be that, but it's that. But I can just be honest about how I feel about it. Sure. I mean, like I've had a lot of like deals, talks, things over Johnny Walker Black in the day that like make me feel like I can't condemn that spirit or like shit on it and just say this Kirkland Scotch, I just love it more. I can't say that, but I think it has merits. I don't know.
So
but
for me,
it could be the nostalgia talking.
For me, and I'm glad you said that, but for me, like I do get some of those like subtle vanilla doers-ish, but I think why we like this Scotch is because I do get that a little bit of sherry, and I don't know if it's got maybe it does, but I get a little sherry.
I'm with you,
and I feel like there's like some. That's why we like Mac 12 sherry, right?
Yep.
And it's got just enough sherry to make me come back.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. It's poor man's Macallan. Like that's the beauty, I think, of this Scotch. You know, for most of us, our favorite everyday Scotch is Macallan 12. This is a substitute for that when you don't want to spend $65 a bottle and you want to spend 17 and just sit at home and pour yourself a glass of
it's
Scotch.
why we grab as much of it as we can.
Right.
And
I'm
with
not
you.
shitting on Johnny Black. I'm just saying, I think that any Scotch that we like, we can sip neat and enjoy as much or almost as much as with a cube in that. And Johnny Black, I can enjoy neat. I can drink with some, a few cubes. And the fact that this
Neither
Scotch
can I.
at this price point, I can sip this neat or any way, and it always delivers. And I can't believe, again, the fact that I'm defending a Kirkland Scotch as the guy who was the most opposed to drinking this when a number of you presented this as apparently a good Scotch. I just think dollar for dollar, it's very hard to beat.
It's a fair argument, and I agree.
I think that what's interesting about this to me is number one, I found this on a cigar forum. That's where I found this recommendation for the Scotch was on a cigar forum. Guys were saying how well this worked with cigars. And I think that we have been proven, it's certainly proven itself in our time together. I mean, how much of this have we had? I mean, when I go to Costco and buy this stuff, I look like a crazy person because I'm rolling out of there with 12 of these Magnum bottles and a hot dog. That's what I leave the store with. I leave with 2 full cases of this Scotch and a hot dog. That's what I walk out
I do
with.
feel we need to disclose for the listener that Rooster and Gizmo are likely shareholders in Costco.
Well, I think Rooster spends a lot more money at Costco than I do. I literally only buy Scotch and hot dogs there. That's it.
Do we know
Do we know
the hot dog blender?
I do want to talk about
It's
the
the
Johnny
same
Black.
guy, by the way.
No, I do want to talk because I grew up with that, and I think at the end of the day, what I feel is, whether it's a cigar or Scotch, they can mean different things to different people. For me, Johnny Black was one of the first Scotches I had. I used to share it with my dad. Loved it. A lot of my friends drink it. It was our go-to Scotch. I love it. Meaning
Go-to.
you can give me Johnny Black today and I'll drink it without hesitation. And I really do like it with a little bit of club soda. I typically don't drink it neat. But having said that, I think the Kirkland Scotch you can drink without club soda. And I think you can just put in a cube of ice because there is that sherry, the sweetness. I do agree with that, but I don't know whether it's better than the Johnny Black. It's once again, it is all about what you feel when you're drinking it and when you're smoking cigars. And it's all about you and your individual taste.
It really is. And I have just too many memories of just walking up to a bar and sitting down and just ordering a Johnny Walker Black or sharing one with my dad that I can't, it's this nostalgic for me.
But there's no other blended Scotch that you can get this value from?
It's
No.
incredible.
For the price point.
It's fantastic.
It's unbeatable.
And think about if you're reaching for you have a couple choices. It's a random night of the week. You want some Scotch. You're talking a $41 to $45 to maybe even $50 if you're in Florida swing on that same bottle of Scotch. I mean, the value in $50 to $60 of a swing and a price of Scotch, to me, I
only drink Johnny Walker Black on an airplane.
Yeah.
That's the only place I drink it, is on a plane. I get it. Like, I've moved on. This, though, dollar for dollar. By the way, if it was like significantly more expensive than what it is, I may not feel the same way about this Kirkland. But dollar for value.
Well, that's Costco.
It's
Costco
great
does
value.
that.
It's ridiculous.
Costco's pricing is that way. I mean, they make 15, 20% maybe profit on a bottle like that. But if this bottle was, on a regular shelf somewhere else, this would be like triple the price.
I just want to say two things. The first, I don't think that we need to just exclusively compare this to Johnny Walker Black.
No,
I
we
don't
don't.
think this is a battle of Johnny Walker versus this Scotch.
No.
So I just want to say that. And the second thing is, I'm sorry, and this is the purist in me and the Scotch snob in me. If you need to mix a Scotch with soda, it's not a great Scotch, in my opinion. And so will I drink when I don't want just straight Scotch and I just want something mellowed out? Will I order a Johnny Black and soda? Yes, because I don't want an aggressive drink. I want to just sip something very slowly and not really imbibe too heavily. But for a good Scotch, am I ever going to dare put anything carbonated in that? Absolutely not.
First of all, I've never had. First point of contention.
You're missing out.
You still haven't defined splooge. Second point of contention.
Sploosh.
Sploosh. Sorry.
Doers
I heard splooge.
Never
what I
ordered
mean
a
by-
Doers and soda with a lemon twist.
Freudian slip.
So Brendan, I don't think you go to bars and drink, because if you were to go to a bar and drink and you were to order it with a bartender, you would say, "Hey, can I get a splash of club soda or a sploosh," which is just a very little.
Yes, with a
soda.
shitty
So,
Scotch.
okay, so first of all, okay,
Shitty?
so
All right.
Tell
that,
me-
that
hang
point,
on.
point one is resolved.
Plus,
Point two, I've never had Johnny Walker Black. Point three, I've never had a Scotch with any kind of splooge or splash or any whatever you want to call it of soda water in it.
So
never.
to Grinder's point, I just want to quickly go around the room. I want you to tell me one time that you have ordered a Macallan 12 with
No, that's a
carbonated
single malt.
soda in it.
That's a single
I'm going to
malt.
just go around. I'm just going to go
That's a
around.
single malt.
Pooba?
Typically,
single
single
malt.
malts you wouldn't put soda.
Yeah, the rest of the world drinks it with club
they're
soda.
so outstanding. You would
surprised.
never
That is-
defile
that
a
is a-
single
that is
malt
a definitive
with soda
no.
water. The same way that if you are doing that, it's because the Scotch is not that great to enjoy on its own, and it's enhanced by putting some water to take that bite away that it has. And that's what I give this credit for, is that none of us have to do that to
Exactly.
enjoy this, where to enjoy Johnny Black, I do have to do
No,
that.
but if
It's an Indian thing.
But if it's
It's an Indian
if
thing.
it's night,
I think
Indians
it
put
is.
soda
I
in
think
black.
there are at least 1 billion people drinking that. In fact,
No,
more,
they should.
more Johnny Walker Black is sold
Also, a
in
lot of
India
red-
than
lot
it's
of red
produced
la- lot of-
globally.
Yeah.
To be clear, I'm saying you should do that with Johnny Walker Black or Red, because it's not as enjoyable
Listen,
on its
listen.
own.
If you-
I
if-
agree
if-
with that.
if it's
but I'm
19
saying great scotches, you don't have to do that.
But Senator, you're slightly younger. If it's 1987, okay, and you just put some White Rain hair mousse in your hair, and you're listening to El DeBarge, okay, and you're listening to El DeBarge and getting ready to go to a party, and there's doers there, and you put a splash of club soda and a lemon twist in it, you're rocking and partying like it's fucking 1999. What my point is like, there was a time in my life where you're putting hair gel in, you're going out to a club, Joey Harrison Surf Club down the Jersey Shore, and it's fucking 87 degrees out, and you got a bum equipment sweatshirt on, and you're like, give me a Doers and soda with a lemon twist, and you're talking to some girl named Kristen with hair that's 3 inches higher, hairsprayed, and she's from Clifton, New Jersey. Like that's like a different drink. You're like just drinking.
Totally.
So like,
And you're also splooshing some Drakkar on there.
yeah, and you exactly. You've got Drakkar Noir on.
It's another Indian scent.
You've got White Rain Mousse in your hair.
Chorus.
And you're drinking a Dewar's and soda with the lemon twist. This is a.
I don't know about the lemon
And
twist.
to be clear, no one's taking that away from you or that. What I'm just saying is if you're at this age enjoying a cigar at home by yourself,
hard negative.
You're not reaching for that
Hard
still.
negative.
That's all I'm
You're
saying.
not reaching for that still.
All right, so we're coming down to the final moments of the EP Carrillo pledge here. What are you guys getting in this last third?
It's mellowed. It's mellowed.
It's much better.
Yeah, I mean,
Agreed.
What
the
last
combustion. The combustion is really phenomenal. I'll be honest. It's like
I recommend like cutting off the first third of the cigar and smoke the rest
that's fair.
with the sploosh of club soda and the scotch.
I think that'd be
You're all
so good.
Let me get a sploosh. I mean a sploosh of that. I'm still struggling with the piece of wrapper that was torn off by the the whatever kind of ring they have on
The
this.
overbanding.
Yeah.
I will say the band, the band that's closest to the head of the cigar it's a very thick band. Like I don't know if I've ever had a cigar that had such a thick piece of paper on it for that band. It's
You haven't had
embossed.
enough opus.
I haven't had a lot of opus. That's correct. But yeah, it's really nice. And I guess for the listener, the success that I've had with that when I know, like Grinder had that problem ripping it off. Just wait till it heats up a little bit. Wait till it gets a little closer and rip them off in succession. So hopefully you don't rip the wrapper up. But are you guys ready to give it the our formal Lizard rating?
Let's do it.
I think so.
Rooster, what do you got on the pledge?
I think I'm gonna go with a 7. I think 7 is fair.
Puba?
I concur. I'll go with a 7.
I am going to go with a 6.
I'm going to go with a 7.
I think for the construction, the draw, the combustion, definitely a 7.
I'm a 5.
Wow.
You liked
All right.
it the most.
Our official Lizard score puts this at a 6.5.
I would call that a soft pass.
A soft pass or a modest recommend.
Modest
depending on
recommend,
the
maybe?
palate.
I mean, I would never smoke this cigar again unless I have to.
Yeah.
It's smokable. Anything
It
less
got
than a 5 is
much better in the second half.
It did it though.
I definitely think it did. To me, just in my throat.
It did, but it's not enough for me to like. I'm gonna buy this cigar and fucking smoke the shit out of it. No,
I have to tell you, I'm very glad that I did this, and I'd like to explain why. Because I will drop a cigar into the ashtray like second period French, right off the fucking schedule. I will ditch it because it's too much of my time. My time is not worth.
agreed.
I would not have hung in with the cigar. If we were at the lounge and not doing this review, I would have ditched this cigar maybe a third of the way through and said, fuck this. I would have.
I've seen him do it.
He's done it with some
seen
really
him
good
do it
cigars.
with some really nice cigars.
I've seen a lot of lizards do a lot of dumping into the ashtray.
Yeah, I would have said, fuck this, and I would have dumped it. And you know what? I'm kind of glad that I stuck with it because I can see the merits of this cigar, which is why I gave it a 7. Down the stretch, the first half was actually, I would call it not pleasurable, but the second half really showed some of its, maybe there's potential, maybe it needs more age. I don't know.
See, that's where I'm just like,
But
if we have to wait half of a cigar to really to when it's actually pleasurable, to your point, why are we doing this?
I mean, it's so much better right now than it was at the first half or the first 60%.
So this goes back to something we discussed on an earlier episode where we were talking about do we want a cigar to be consistent all the way through? Do we want a 3-act play? And there are merits on both sides, and I feel that way for sure. But if this cigar were consistent all the way through, like that second half, I think we all would have given this a much higher rating. And I think what's disappointing is that the way they blended this cigar, they were not able to achieve those flavors all the way through. And that's what's disappointing about this. But what I will say for, who may this appeal to, if you love full, really aggressive, intense cigars, then you're going to love this cigar.
But let me ask you this, Senator. Who's actually smoking? Do you see people like pulling this out and be like,
I do see it on the forums. People, and again, I'm not going to discount the listeners' palate, but I don't know if it's hype or if it's actual enjoyment of the cigar, or people just celebrating that it's number one. But I see a lot of guys smoking the cigar.
And I'll also say I'm not surprised by that, because there are smokers out there who love the Le Bijou that we were talking about. And that's a cigar that's way too strong for my palate, but clearly for some others, that works. So if you love that cigar, you're easily going to love this. That's the only point I'm making. For me, I like a medium full cigar. This is a full plus where I just can't enjoy.
The thing that's interesting is that it's so much better right now down the stretch than it was, which is unusual, because so often you light a Habanos and you're like, and it'll start really great, and then you're like, the last third, you're like, ooh, maybe this needs some time to round out, needs a little more age or something, and you can start to get some of these like rough edges that are actually not appealing. I think it's more appealing now. Like, I'm enjoying this now. I would have dropped it, and I would have dropped this thing at this point in the cigar and just said, screw it, I'm still smoking it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
But and I think it speaks like net for me, a cigar that starts really strong, not strong flavor, but strong because you like it. But but then needs some rounding out. Net is better than a cigar that is not great and then really inspires in the second half. And maybe that's just because we're human beings and we're kind of subjective and we make our opinions quickly. It's the reason why first impressions actually count.
I think a lot of Tatuaje smokers would maybe go for this.
Yeah,
I think so.
That's similar.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good point,
Right.
Rooster. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think. I used to smoke some Tatuajes. One of my favorite Tatuajes is maybe the Petite Cazadores. That might be worthy of a future podcast, maybe. But Tatuaje is very similar. A lot of spice in a lot of the sticks. So maybe those guys who love Tatuajes might want to give this a shot.
And to this cigar's credit, the only Tatuaje I like is the one you mentioned, Rooster, the Petite Cazadores. But the other Tatuajes I've had, the Black Label, the Escasos they came out with.
Kanju.
I'm really not a fan of any of those.
Yeah, they kind of fizzle off.
I would smoke this over any of those that I just named. So I agree with you. I think a Tatuaje smoker would like this. And I even would say would probably prefer this.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, boys. A 6.5 for the EP Carrillo Pledge Prequel. And
try
delicious
it.
Scotch.
Judge for yourself.
And listen, for $10, I can't tell the listener not to listen, not to try this cigar. I think for $10, $11, it's definitely worth it. I wouldn't buy a box without trying it, but I think purchasing a single at that price, it's certainly worth it, given that it was rated number one.
Try a single. You may like it. It surprised me in the second half. I'm glad I stuck with it.
Yeah, don't go with Grinders 5 because I think it's at least a 6.
I'm a hard grader.
He's lashing out.
I'm a hard grader.
Well, Grinder's still trying to figure out what splooshes. So.
All right, boys, a 6.5, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, loungelizardspod, P-O-D, that's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.